Greetings, everyone. Welcome again to another Peaceful Solution Character Education Program Teacher Certification course. If you're joining us here in the sanctuary, the great facility here that's being given to us to use here in Abilene, please be seated. Peaceful Solution Headquarters. That was a tongue twister. Also, if you're joining us online, feel free to go to the top of the page. If you're joining us on the Facebook page, at the top there is a drop-down menu that has the book that we are currently in. It's called Building Moral Excellence, the high school unit of the Peaceful Solution Program. Go ahead and download it. Go ahead and print it. Go ahead and teach it. Just make sure you follow the recipe. Make sure you follow the procedures so you get the best result with your students. Tonight we're going to be picking back up in Chapter 1. And as you know, last class, and the last time we met, we went back over the elements of, what character is and the different things that make up our character. Okay, and remember we went over morals, and we went over heredity, and we went over values, and we went over environment, and we're not going to go visit that again tonight because we went through it pretty thoroughly now. So now we're going to pick up back on page 19. The building blocks of character is where we'll pick up tonight. But we will first, as we always do, we'll go back to the lesson plan and see what step we're on here. And it looks like we're on step number 4 now. Step number 4. It says, explain to students that's on LP1J, by the way. Explain to students that character is made up of specific traits that can be categorized as positive or negative. Negative traits, such as aggression and retaliation, can result in poor interaction as well as harm to oneself and others. And in contrast, positive traits like honesty and respect support moral principles. Have students brainstorm additional character traits and categorize them as positive or negative. So, hey, if we're doing any brainstorming tonight, can you please rain a little bit? We need some rain, cool us off. Okay, you can laugh or you don't have to. It's okay. Okay, after brainstorming, have the class turn to the sections entitled The Building Blocks of Character and Positive Character Traits, found on page 19 and 20, which we'll be on tonight, and allow students time to review the positive character traits as listed in the chart with the list on the board. The activities on page 21 through 24 can be assigned as homework. Well, they could be, but they won't, because we're going to go over them as well. Okay, so let's turn over to page 19, Building Blocks of Character. And let's go ahead and put up the first visual, too, for those that are following at home. All right, so here we have the building blocks of character. And if you notice on the top of the page, you'll see approximately 7 blocks there. And you see the word respect, you see a block with the word patience, honesty, humility, compassion, selfishness, and aggression. So one thing that you should notice is are all of those positive traits? No, there's, as we're going to find out as we go along here, there's a couple there that we wouldn't want to be building our positive character on because they're not positive at all. So selfishness and aggression. But it just goes to show that all of us have certain negative character traits that we have to get rid of. Okay, it's showing you that we all have a mixture of positive and negative. And our job is, of course, in the Peaceful Solution, is to accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative, shed the negative traits. And it takes a while, it takes... Remember, it's not an overnight fix. I know they'd like to make you think that, you just take a pill and take the blue pill or the red pill and you're going to be fine. Call me in the morning, right? Well, no. You're going to have to take one of these you're going to have to take this and call me in the morning, right? Every morning. In fact, I have somebody that calls me every morning at 5:30 to make sure I'm awake. But I should probably have him read me at least a page out of the book, too, while he's at it. Just kidding. Don't worry, I won't do that. But I should, rehearse this every day, and all of us should be rehearsing the peaceful solution on a daily basis so we can eliminate the negative. Remember, the negative is not something we want to carry. We want to get rid of it. But it does take a while. It takes a lifetime of, overcoming these negative traits that have, you know how they say Rome wasn't built overnight? Well, neither was our negative character. It took a lot of years. Even before we were born, our ancestors passed down things to us that we're still trying to get rid of at this time. That's called heredity. We learned about that in the last class. So anyway, let's start reading in the middle of the page there. Could you put the visual back up? It says, the combination of your moral principles, values, environment, and influences are interwoven to make up your character. Your character consists of traits that are similar to building blocks and can be categorized as either positive or negative. Positive traits are beneficial and advantageous to yourself and others. Notice it's not just about you. You notice that? In fact, you should underline "and others" because it's showing that, our character, our actions, our behaviors ripple out and they affect not only ourselves but those around us. So it's helpful to others when we also practice positive character. Like I talked about the other day about returning that wallet, that lost item. That's a benefit to somebody else. You become a benefit to someone else because you care and you're concerned about someone else's property enough to return that lost item. It says, positive traits support and uphold moral principles that govern your behavior. For instance, honesty, compassion, and respect are just a few of these positive traits. Okay, those are just a few of them, but we're going to learn there's a list of about 23 of them that we're going to go over this evening. And we like to say 21, but it's really 23 because 2 of them are doubled up, as we'll see. 2 of them are similar, though. Let's go to the next visual for those that are watching. At the bottom of page 19, it says, think about it. Positive traits are to your character what a foundation is to a house. Now, when you look at that picture of that house right there, you're probably thinking, wow, that's got a nice foundation. I like that lawn, Well, do you think that house is just sitting on the lawn? What if that house was just built on the lawn, but there was no, there's a rule in building. Before you build up, you got to go down. Right? Before you build up, you got to go down. I was watching a video the other night about the World Trade Centers when they built the World Trade Centers, and that's what they said. They said, well, before you build up, you've got to go down. And they dug out something like, I think they worked for a couple years in digging before they ever started building it up. And I'm talking about the latest one, the one World Trade Center. People were complaining because they're like, how come nothing's getting done on this building, that we're paying for, the taxpayers and everyone that were pitching in to help on it, because there were bonds and things they used to build it, but they didn't see any progress. Well, what people didn't realize is you got to go down before you go up, and they had to dig deep down into the earth. Then they needed to take that earth that they dug out and move it across the street there. And now in the original trade centers, it says that they moved so much dirt out of the where they put those 2 trade centers that it filled up 6 city blocks of new real estate in the Hudson River. They actually had to dump it in the river, and it made real estate, like 6 blocks of new land, all that earth that they dug up. Really amazing. But the point is, you got to have a foundation of a house or a building before you build on it. And in this case, we've got to have positive character that we build ourself upon. that we build our lives upon. It has to be on a solid, stable footing. If not, all it takes is, how many times does it take to steal to become a thief? Huh, wow, once. I heard that from, I think he's about 7 or 8, an 8-year-old. So he must have been learning the peaceful solution for quite some time, okay? That's a great answer, yes. One time. So one bad choice can bring that house down, can bring that tower down. One bad choice, one bad action. You know, like the peaceful solution says, it might not seem fair. You know, it takes a lifetime to build a reputation, but only one bad choice to destroy it. Well, that's who said life had to be fair, you know. That occurs. So you got to be extra careful to make sure you're building your life on positive character and have a firm foundation like that house there that we saw. Even though you can't see it, it's there. It's like that iceberg. Remember the iceberg? You can see the iceberg, but 90% of it's underneath the water and you can't see it, right? It's the same thing with the foundation of a house. Okay, so let's go to the next page. We're going to start looking at positive character traits and going over this list. Let's go ahead and put up the next visual for those at home. Okay, great. So I've got them written here. Hope you can read it okay. Let's start with, it says, the following is a list of positive character traits. Read them carefully. Check column A if they're part of your character. Check column B if you would like to develop these traits. So, you know, I'm not saying that in every situation you're going to practice this particular trait, but you know yourself better than anybody. You know whether you do it a majority of the time. So if you feel like it's something that you're practicing now and that you're not, you know, that you feel like you've got a pretty decent handle on, check column A. But if it's obvious that it's something you need to be working on, be honest with yourself and check column B. You know, don't be checking column A all the way down. If you do, you're not being honest. Okay? If you get every answer that's A, scrap it and do it again. Because none of us got straight A's, okay? None of us. Not yet. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with number 1. And number 1, as we always tell you in this program, is educated. And educated, you know, I know they like, you know, when we think of education, we tend to think of a school, a teacher, some curriculum, some books, etc. Well, that's all true. But in this particular case, when it comes to positive character, educated means getting all the facts and making sure they're correct or true before making a decision. All right? Getting all the facts, making sure they're correct before making a decision. So right away, you see the difference in the education that's being described here and education out there in the public school system or in YouTube videos or whatever else. You know, you can go out there and you can watch YouTube videos on any subject to learn about something or learn how to do something. But you're getting facts, but your facts you're getting might not actually be true or correct. Okay? Remember, in a court of law, both sides are presenting facts. The prosecution and the defense are both presenting facts to the judge. But the judge's job is to decide which facts are true, which facts are false. So you have to remember, just because they're facts doesn't mean they're true. So you need to make sure you get the information and you get it from reliable sources. I don't count YouTube or Facebook or MySpace or any of these social media sites as reliable sources in most cases. It doesn't mean you're going to find some truth out there, but for the most part, you're going to get a lot of people's opinions. You're going to get a lot of things that, you know, are not going to be reliable. So be careful in what you're. But the point is, in anything, get the facts. Get the facts and make sure they're correct. That includes friendships, right? Relationships, remember what we taught about in the acceptance unit about friendship, the getting to know you stage, the stages of friendship. That means that you're investigating before you do something. You're not just jumping right into something. You're making sure that that person that you think you want to hang out with is going to be, let's say, kosher for you to hang out with, proper for you to hang out with, somebody that's not going to get you in some kind of hot water, right? So you got to be careful. You got to be an investigator. Remember who, what, why, when, where, and how before you just dive into something. Okay, let's go to the next visual. Okay, it says, no, not the next visual. Number 2 is responsible. We just went over a whole book on this one. Always doing what's necessary to complete the task or to complete the mission or to complete the job. Always doing what is necessary, not what you think is okay, not the way, remember, not the spirit of Frank Sinatra. I did it my way, but, making sure you do what's necessary, what's required to complete the job and to do it correctly, to do it in a timely manner, to do it with the right attitude, etc., right? Because, your work does show in your attitude about your work. If you have a bad attitude, David's real big on this. Our teacher, David, he's talked about attitude is everything. Well, your attitude does show in the work that you do, what you think about your work, and what kind of care and concern you take in your work. And you should want to do the best work you can for everybody. The next one is reliable. Reliable means you can be dependent on in word and deed. If you tell somebody something, you're going to follow through with it. They should be able to rely on you, like if you're a mechanic, to do a great job. Because it says even to be reliable in your deeds, in the things that you do, okay? So everyone should be reliable in practicing a positive character so other people can benefit from our positive character. Okay, that's how reliable we need to become, where people can trust in us and know that we're not going to bring any harm to them or the environment or ourselves. Honest and trustworthy is the next one. That means being fair, straightforward, sincere, and keeping your promises. Okay, being fair, not taking more than your fair share, or, treating people, equally, in the respect that you don't treat one person, that's got a lot of money one way and treat the poor man another way, or treat, somebody that's that you think is really important one way. Not saying that you shouldn't. Remember, the peaceful solution does teach us that, you wouldn't talk to your parents or your teachers the way you talk to your friends. You wouldn't say, "Hey, dude," to your teacher. You don't call the teacher dude, but you might call your friend something like that, right? But you should always remember who you're speaking to and address them properly. That's true. But you should always treat everyone with the same consideration, care, and concern, and treat them according to the peaceful solution, no matter who they are. No matter what they can do for you or what they can't do for you, you should treat everybody the same when it comes to moral character. Okay, the next one, and remember keeping your promises too. Okay, keeping your promises. That's one that's out the window. How do I know that? Got a 70% divorce rate here in America, so that tells me that 70% of the people don't think keeping a promise means anything, because they all promised one thing and they all did something different. Okay, so that means we need to work on that, right? I'm not condemning them. It just means we need to work on it. We need to figure out how is it that, in the future we can, well, first of all, if you'd follow the peaceful solution, you'll find the right mate, because you'll teach you how to find the right mate and not end up with somebody again that you regret. Because that's why most people get divorced, because they have regrets. They have regrets because they didn't get to know that person well enough, etc. Their character. Remember, you get hired for your personality. You get hired because that person likes how you speak, they like how you present yourself, you're dressed nice, whatever else. But you're fired because of your character, because now they see you're coming in late, even though you promised them this and that. Now you're doing the opposite of what you told your prospective boss. Now they're finding out what's really behind the facade, all right? Now they're finding out what you're really about, but you told them how great you were when you sat down to get that job, right? It's the same thing in a relationship. Man comes to woman, tells that woman how great he is, treats her, treats her like $1 million, right? But then after they get the job, so to speak, how do they treat them? They start to pick their nose in front of them. They start to, do things that are rude and crude. And the woman's like, man, he never did that when I first met him. I didn't even know he knew how to do that. Well, welcome to the real world now. Now you're not seeing through rose-colored glasses anymore. Now you're getting to know that person. You're getting to know, and you should have got to know him and took more time to conversation, right, to get to know that person before you made that decision. And that's why the peaceful solution is so important. Remember, get educated first. That's why it's the top trait. The next one is, if we can put the list back up, is patient, which means demonstrating self-control and remaining calm through setbacks or when things don't go quite the way you planned. That's what a setback is. Self-control, remember the ability to stop. We had a whole book on that. The ability to stop so you can calm down long enough to think clearly about what your options are in any situation and then proceed with the right choice. Well, a patient person, we're going to talk more about that. A few of these traits we're going to get more in depth in as we go through the next couple pages. And we'll come back to that word patience. Just be patient, we'll get there. The next one is steadfast and persistent. It means when you're determined not to give up or change what you have set out to accomplish. Like I noticed, I see all the same people here in the auditorium for the last, since 2000, when did we start this class? 2020? Yeah, 2020. Was it 2020? Yeah. November 2020, I see the same people. That's called steadfast and persistent. They're determined to become certified in the peaceful solution, so they make it here all the time, okay? And you think about it. How many years do people go to college before they get a degree? What? 8 years, 4 years, 8 years, depending on what kind of degree you're trying to get, right? Okay? So, you spend a big chunk of life in school. Well, it's the same thing with a peaceful solution. Don't you think you should put some years in before you get certified in anything? Of course. You got to be tested. You got to be tested in life. Here we don't give you a piece of paper and tell you, take this test. You're going to get tested. You could be sitting right here in the auditorium and get tested, right? But you're going to get tested as soon as you walk out of here. I guarantee you that. To see whether or not you're going to practice the peaceful solution or not, because we all do. And that's okay, because without the testing, we don't know where our weaknesses are. We don't know what we need to work on, right? And then we don't know our strengths either if we don't get tested. So we got to be tested. We got to go through the fire. And you know about the fire because it's like 110 in here tonight, right? So you know about the fire. Okay. All right. So the next one is courageous. The act of bungee jumping or deep sea diving with sharks. Is that what it says? Well, that's what they tell you it is, courageous. Or, courageous. Go to the wizard so you can get some courage, like the lion did. Well, you don't need to go to the Wizard of Oz to get courage around here. You just got to come to the peaceful solution. The courage means the act of doing what needs to be done, even when you're afraid. Oh? You can be afraid? Well, yeah. You should be afraid when you see that Mack truck coming at you 100 miles an hour, right? You should be afraid enough to get out of the way, take some kind of action, right? You should be afraid to touch that cigarette. You should be afraid to get near that beer. You don't go walking into some kind of trap, you stay away from traps, right? You don't go there and start trying to play with the trap, those mouse traps, you See how you can touch it, how many times I can push on it before it'll snap my finger? No, you don't do that. You stay away from it. You get away from it. You see it, you get away from it. You don't hang out with it. You don't go into those situations. You know, I think I told you I had a student once that, you know, was doing really well and, you know, for about 4 months or so coming to class, and then all of a sudden she disappeared for about 8 months, and finally she came back and she's like, where you been? Oh, man, I went to see some friends. Where? Oh, man, at the dope house. The dope house? What were you doing at the dope house? You know what they're doing at the dope house. They're doing dope at the dope house, you dope. Right? So you don't go to the dope house to see your friends. Those aren't your friends at the dope house, number one. Right? Number two, we're gonna have to go back and review what we've already learned here about staying away from those things that can draw you into something negative. You don't go into negative situations if you're trying to avoid that behavior, right? You just stay away from it. It's like when I quit smoking, man. I stayed away from people who smoked. I stayed away from places that sold smokes. I didn't go to the smoking section of the grocery store. I didn't even want to look at the, you know, I didn't put myself anywhere around smoke. And I remember probably about the first 3 days was the hardest, and after that it got easier, and pretty soon I was like, wow, I can't even believe I ever even did that. And now it's been since 1999. How many years is that? 20, 35, 25? I don't remember. 35? 25? 25 years without a cigarette. And now if I smell it, it's horrible to me. It's horrible. I can't even believe that I did something like that, right? Then I feel so much better, man. I can breathe. I don't have circulation problems anymore where I feel like my hands are always cold and I don't feel my heart racing all the time because of the nicotine, and my wallet's a little bit bigger because I don't have to spend $10 for a pack of cigarettes or whatever they cost nowadays. I don't even know, you know. I mean, I think they're pretty expensive. But then I'm not condemning people to smoke. I just told you I smoked for 20 years. Okay, I know what it's like. But I also know you can quit. Okay, you can quit. Anytime you decide to quit, you can do it. But remember, you only quit once. You don't quit 10 times, you only quit once, right? That's the last time you ever do it, then you can say you quit. All right, next one is discipline. Using self-control to behave in a proper way. And remember, we talked a little bit about discipline in the respect unit and some, I think, in the character unit. You know, it's just doing something habitually, doing it over and over again until it becomes a habit or a pattern in your life. And I'm talking about something positive, not something negative, right? We don't want negative habits and negative patterns, but you can become disciplined to brush your teeth, make your bed, speak to your parents in a proper tone, you know, obey the authorities. You can make that, you can become disciplined at doing those things. And if you notice the word disciplined, you see the word disciple in there, which means student. You become a student and you become proficient at what you're doing there, in whatever you become disciplined in. The next one is respectful. Remember, we had a whole book about respect that we just went through. Respectful means to value others as important as yourself, and to allow that to show through your actions and attitudes. Remember, valuing others as important as yourself. But also remember, we learned about valuing the environment, valuing all life, even those that are deceased, right? You shouldn't go digging up their bones or grave digging and trying to find, you know, jewelry or whatever. You know, some people do. They call it archaeology, right? I guess. You know, I call it stealing. You shouldn't be going into somebody's tomb and raiding the tomb, you know, like Indiana Jones. They call them Raiders of the Lost Ark. Raiders are thieves. They're robbers. They're pirates. You know, they're taking things. They're taking things without permission. You know. Okay, so the next one is compassionate. It means to care about the needs of others. And we're going to get into that too when we go over, some of these other character traits, because remember, caring about the needs of others doesn't mean, you should just be giving people things. Okay, and we're gonna go into that as we go along, because you have to learn that you can't just be going. You could actually be doing more harm giving somebody something than you realize. And we'll go through all those things, and we'll learn about them as we go along. But just planting that in your mind for now. But you should care about the needs of other people. What do people need? They need food. They need clothing. They need shelter. They need water. They need, they have needs. All human beings have certain needs. And we should want to see everybody have their needs met. Not necessarily their wants, but their needs. The next one is merciful. There's another one that's kind of twisted up nowadays. It means to show leniency. Leniency doesn't mean you let them get away with it. Leniency means you don't give them the full consequence, possibly. You could restrict them for a week, but instead you say, just a day or 2 days, right? That's leniency. But you give them some kind of consequence. You don't just let them go. That's not mercy. That's not true mercy. Merciful means to show leniency or tolerance even when others have behaved in a manner where they deserved to be given a consequence. Tolerance, tolerating, putting up with. Okay, I think David talks a lot about that word tolerate, right? Tolerate. But it just means to put up with, to bear under something or to suffer something. And, I try to remember that too, because, man, I was a hellion when I was young, when I was 9, 10, 11, 12. I see some of these younger people that are in the peaceful solution, and I think, man, when I was their age, I couldn't sit through an hour class. My mom and dad used to drop me off for catechism, every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, and I was out the door as soon as the car drove off. I was out with my friends running around. And then when I came back, they were like, so how was class? Oh, it was great. What'd you learn? About sin. I never went to class. So I admire these young people that can actually come into a hot auditorium, right, and sit here for an hour and listen to me bump my gums, right? But then I see them practicing these things. Do they not make some mistakes sometimes and make some bad choices at times? Yes. But I look at them and I'm like, man, they're like worlds apart from where I was. Even on their worst day, they're really great children, okay? The ones that learn the peaceful solution, they're really great. Okay, so the next one is forgiving. And we're going to talk more about this one hopefully tonight. It means to refrain from holding anger or resentment towards someone who has wronged you. To refrain from holding anger or resentment towards someone who has wronged you. And that's a tough one, okay? But we're going to learn how to overcome that. We're going to learn that you have to. You got to learn to forgive. If you don't, you're going to suffer a lot of things in your life, mentally and physically, if you don't learn to forgive and learn to do it quickly, not hold on to grudges and let these things fester, because it can turn into physical ailments and mental illness if you hold on to these things. So you're really doing yourself a benefit by letting go, as well as benefiting that other person. The next one is generous. It means when you're kind enough to give that bum on the street a $10 bill when they need a hamburger. Again, this is another one of those words we're going to be going over just to make sure we understand that that's not being generous, okay? It means when you're kind enough to give of what you have in order to help someone else, and this also includes giving of your time. But again, we're going to learn. I think we learned in the respect unit right off in the first page. Give a man a fish, feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, you'll feed him for a lifetime. So it's better to educate someone, to take them in and teach them how to do something, than to give them a handout all the time. Now, does that mean that sometimes people don't need a helping hand? Of course they do. But I'm talking about habitually giving people things, right, where they don't ever learn to govern their own lives and take care of themselves. Okay? You're not doing them any benefit. You're actually hurting them. You're actually a hindrance to them. You're a stumbling block to them. You're actually keeping them from developing responsibility. You're actually keeping them, holding them down from becoming honest and doing an honest day's work for their money. You're actually holding them back from building positive character like you are. So remember that, and we'll go over that as we go along. Now the next one, here's a real big one. It's a 6-letter word, man, but whoo, is it big. Humble. Humble means not proud or arrogant. Oh, wait, I thought there was man, proud? Not proud. I thought pride was okay. I see it everywhere. You know, I see that word pride everywhere, especially in schools. You know, they got posters that talk about, you know, be proud of your school or school pride. You know, well, we're going to learn that pride is not a positive thing. The only pride that would be considered positive would be a lion's pride, like, you know, where they have a pride is like a group of cubs or, you know, a group of lions. A pride, you know, that's the only pride that I know of that's positive. But of course, that could be negative too if those lions want to eat you, right? The pride of lions is chasing you. But no, you don't want pride. In fact, you know, people, they have a saying, you know, to swallow your pride. I tell people, no, don't swallow it. Spit it out because it's poison. It will kill you. So you need to get rid of it. Don't be swallowing it. Okay? That's like swallowing poison. Remember what Confucius said? Holding a grudge is like taking a glass of poison and drinking it and waiting for the other person to die. Right? Yes, Confucius said that, even though it's in the Peaceful Solution. Yes, he said it. Okay. Give credit to who it's due, right? We gotta make sure we do that too. That's called being honest. Okay, optimistic means the ability to look on the bright side of things and to find what's positive in a situation or event and to anticipate the best possible outcome. You know, like getting that flat tire, you know, and you start getting upset and start, you know, screaming and hollering and cussing, and instead of just going to check to make sure you got a jack, right? and your jack's working okay, and hey, how long's it been since you used the jack? You probably need some exercise, right? You probably need a refresher on changing a tire. So it's actually a benefit if you get it flat. You'll be able to make sure you have a jack in the back. You'll be able to make sure it's working, and hopefully you have a spare tire too, right? And if you don't, even that's a benefit because you'll just learn that, hey, I wasn't responsible. I need to be more responsible, right? And I need to have a spare tire and make sure I have a jack in my car in case I get a flat tire, right? So, in other words, look on the bright side. You're learning something. You're growing. You know, you're becoming aware, okay? So it's not the end of the world. Because even if you don't have the spare and you don't have a jack, you got a phone, right? So you can call a tow truck or you can call a friend to come and help you, right? But learn from your mistakes. Don't keep making the same mistakes and calling your friend every time you need your tire changed, like I used to do. I know, I'm using that as an example because I lived it. Okay, the next one is thankful. That means to be appreciative of the benefits that you have received. Appreciative of the benefits that you've received. You know, those food stamps that you got, benefits. Is that benefits I'm talking about? Well, I guess if you got food stamps and you needed them because you needed that, you know, if you work and you fall on hard times and you need a little extra help, you paid taxes and you paid for those, okay. But some people live off them, and that's not what they're there for, okay. But the benefits that we're talking about here is the benefit of, for instance, correction is a benefit, right? If your parents or teachers correct you because you made a bad decision, is that not a benefit? Does that not benefit you? Okay, so you should be thankful for that, right? You should be thankful for correction. You shouldn't be all upset with the person that's giving it to you. You should be thanking them for correcting you. Hey, thanks for pointing that out to me. I'll try to do better next time, right? Because we tend to think benefits just means money or, you know, some kind of gift. That's not what it, you know, really, actually, the greatest gift you can give somebody is an education and moral character. You know that, right? So if you get corrected because you're not practicing the peaceful solution, that is a great benefit, and we should all be thankful for it. Next one is considerate, means having regard for another's feelings. Being considerate, thinking about how a situation might make you feel if you were in that situation. Consider the other person. The next one is modesty, means not given to conceit. You don't think highly of yourself. You don't have this high opinion of, I'm the hardest worker here, Well, no, you're probably not if you think you are, okay? There's probably somebody working harder than you that you don't even know about because they're always in the shadows doing a lot of work, and they don't say a word about what they're doing. They just work hard, and they don't look for the glory. They don't look for any kind of, pat on the back or, anything like that. So no, you're not the hardest worker. You just think you are in your own mind because you have a high opinion of yourself, okay? And really, we need to learn to humble ourselves and lower ourselves, not think too highly of ourselves. That's what we need to learn to do. So, not given to conceit, showing decency in behavior, dress, and speech. Decency in the way you behave, the way you dress, and the way you speak. And we're gonna talk about that as we go along. Not using foul language, behaving according to the principles that were taught in the Peaceful Solution program, dressing appropriately as we learned in the Respect unit. Dress shows your character. Remember, the way you dress has a lot to do with your character, whether it's positive or negative, and the way we speak, our conversation or our communication. We need to make sure we go back to the self-control unit in chapter 3 and learn about communication again. I believe it was 2 or 3. Might have been 2. No, it was 3. Communication in the self-control unit about the words, how we say them, how we look while we're saying them, etc. Okay, the next one is loyalty, which is sincerity, faithfulness, devotion, and a commitment to a person or cause. Loyalty. Sincerity, faithfulness, devotion, and a commitment to a person or cause. And we're going to go over that a little more in depth here in the number 2 on the next page. Self-control means not yielding to impulsive thoughts and actions. In other words, not giving in to doing things without thinking them through, thinking about the consequences before we do them. Impulsive thoughts that lead to impulsive actions. Remember, that's what occurs when we don't control our thoughts. Our thoughts turn into feelings, and then our feelings turn into actions. So we need to learn to control the thought and even learn about our environment and what even causes thoughts in the first place. Remember? Because, think about it. Where do your thoughts come from? You just think, oh, they're in my head. No, they're not. Your environment's creating your thoughts. It's what's in your environment, whether it's your sight, your hearing, etc. And it could even be subliminal things that you're not even aware of that can create these thoughts within your mind. And that we've learned about all those things as we've gone along. We just need to go back and rehearse them. The last one in the list is decisive, able to commit to a decision, make up your mind, and remain firm on a matter. So, not being wishy-washy, back and forth, like a ship on the sea. 1 minute we feel like this, the next minute we feel like this, the next minute we want to do this, we decide to do this, the next minute we want to do this instead. We got to remain firm. One thing I'll say about President George W. Bush, I always admired. I didn't like all of his decisions, but I liked how he stood firm on a decision. He didn't back off it, okay? I'm not talking about his father, because his father said, read my lips, no new taxes, and then he went and taxed everybody. Not him. I'm talking about this junior, the last Bush there. I think Bush 45, I think is who he was. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to page 21 now. And we're going to go over a couple of these. We still got a little bit of time. At the top of the page, it says, an individual who has developed these positive traits and consistently maintains them in his or her interactions with others is a person of integrity. Underline that. That's integrity. A person of integrity develops these traits on page 20, and they and they consistently maintain them. Maintain means you keep them in the best working condition, that you do them on a regular basis. You don't, you can't call yourself honest if one day you're stealing and the next day you're not, and then the next day you're back to stealing again. That's not being honest. Okay, so you have to maintain them in your interactions. All of these traits help to build a positive character and promote moral principles. So these are all what we read on page 20. These are what we want to become. This is the mirror we want to look in. Think of it as a mirror, and you want to see yourself reflecting back in this mirror. You want to see, when you look in the mirror, you want to see someone positive. You want to be able to look at responsible and say, yes, I'm doing whatever I can to make sure I do everything that's necessary to complete the job. That compassionate, I'm not really caring about the needs of others like I ought to. I need to work on that. So that's like a mirror that shows you where your face is clean, and it shows you where your face is dirty, where you need to get rid of the little dirts, the little spots of dirt on your face. Okay, so be looking in this mirror often. In fact, post this list of positive traits somewhere. We used to tell the guys, put it on the refrigerator because they're in the refrigerator constantly. And the girls, put it on your bathroom mirror because they're always looking in the mirror, so it's probably best they put it on the mirror. Okay, so let's go to let's take a closer look at the following traits and answer the questions that follow. So trait number 1, we're going to go over a little more in depth here, is humility. It says a humble person walks around all day with his looking up at the ceiling and like this. Is that a humble person? All right, let's see what a humble person is. I know we all think we imagine what a humble person is, right? But a humble person is willing to learn and accept correction. Hey, that's a thankful person too, remember? Accepting correction might not be the easiest thing to do, especially if the person who's correcting you insults you or uses a mean tone of voice. Without a humble attitude, you can become resentful, argumentative, or rebellious. So, you can either A, have a humble attitude, right? Or, see the visual there? Or we'll be coming to see you in the prison there and teaching you the Peaceful Solution prison program, see? So you can either have a humble attitude and accept correction and learn to accept correction, or, well, we'll probably have it to see you at the basic inmate workshop, because that's where we could end up, right, without a positive attitude. We're not hoping that. I'm just saying we got something for everybody, okay? So if you decide to rebel and you end up going to jail, well, we can go and see you there too. It says, without a humble attitude, you can become rebellious, argumentative, resentful. A humble person accepts correction regardless of how it's given with a positive attitude. He or she avoids arguing or becoming hostile because it can make the situation worse. And I know that's not easy sometimes when you're in the heat of the moment, right? Sometimes it's hard to stop and think and just shut up for a second and calm down. Right? We tend to just want to get that word in, we want to get that last word in. But the problem is it's never the last word, because the other person is going to say something too if they don't have self-control. And then you're going to want to get one up on them. That's called retaliation. You're just going to keep going back and forth. Somebody has to eat the humble pie, be willing to stop the argument, calm down, be humble, just for the sake of arguing. It says, he or she avoids arguing or becoming hostile because it could make the situation worse. So the next time your parents, teachers, or even your friends correct you on your choices or behavior, don't get upset. Instead, take the time to listen and respectfully consider what you're being told. By taking the time to listen and respectfully consider what you're being told, you're showing humility. Remember, when you're asked to have a humble attitude, in essence, you're being encouraged to be willing and open to improve yourself. Also, always know that your actions can be better and your thought processes can be improved. It's not like that guy, what was his name? Okay, hold on. I got to remember this guy's name. I never give him credit where credit's due. Mac Davis. Mac Davis. Oh, Lord, it's hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way. Remember that song, right? No, you can become better at things, and your thought processes can be improved. You're never going to be perfect in that respect, okay? So we can all become better. We can all improve in some way, shape, or form. So that's humility. So you can be humble. You need to develop the humble character trait. So the first question is, the first thing says, identify 2 areas in your life where the trait of humility can be beneficial. And some of your students' answers might include when accepting correction from those in authority, like parents, teachers, or employers, and when I'm in a conflict. That's where that trait of humility can come in handy, with your teachers and employers, parents, etc. Or that person that gets under your skin, that person can be a benefit to you too in helping you practice this humility that we all need to practice. And then B says, name 3 ways you can be a more humble person. And answers might include by not arguing or talking back, and when given instructions, follow through with them, by not boasting or bragging, right? Not boasting or bragging like that Mac Davis guy I was telling you about. He probably didn't even write that song. Somebody else wrote it. He just sung it, But that's what he's known for, It's hard to be humble. Okay, number 2. Let's go over to number 2, loyalty. Let's put up the next slide there so you can see what loyalty is all about. That Godfather. Remember, they were real loyal, those guys, those gang members. They're pretty loyal, those gang members. Aren't they? They kill somebody, they don't tell on each other, right? That's pretty loyal, right? That's loyalty, isn't it? That's how the peaceful solution wants you to behave. Don't rat on each other, that's loyalty, right? Don't rat on somebody that did something negative, that hurt somebody or stole from somebody. Don't rat on them, right? That's true loyalty. Let's see what loyalty actually is. It says, loyalty is the ability to faithfully commit yourself to a person or cause that's important to the development of a positive character. When you are loyal to a cause, you're willing to stand firm on your beliefs, and you will also put sincere effort into promoting its success. Like, for instance, in the peaceful solution, if you're actually loyal to these principles, that means you're going to be trying to practice them in every situation that you can. And in that way, you'll be promoting the peaceful solution. You'll be promoting it in other people's mind because they'll be seeing your actions and going, wow, man, where'd you learn how to be so calm in that situation? Man, most people would have gone ballistic when that guy told them what they told you. How do you stay so calm, in that situation? Well, you'll be able to tell them, well, I took this course called The Peaceful Solution, and man, I knew the calmest teacher I ever met. His name was Mr. Krause. He was like the calmest guy, man. And he always talked really sweet and kind, and he was the best teacher I ever saw. Oh, wait, Mac Davis is taking over. Hold on. I need a drink of water, man. It's hot. Whew. Felt the spirit of Mac. No. Loyalty is promoting it, in your life, of course, but not, I don't always set the example the way I should either, okay? I know I have some things to work on. I'm just making sure you understand that I know that. Okay, it says, you must be careful that in an effort to fit in, you're not misguided or deceived about what and who you should be loyal to. Like the Godfather, he was deceived into thinking that he should be loyal to negative character and those that practice it. For example, every year thousands of children become members of gangs, and they're loyal to gang rules, even if the rules promote hatred, aggression, theft, and violence. So be careful. There are many things you can be loyal to. In developing a positive character, now you see the Godfather, he went through the peaceful solution classes. Now look at him, he's promoting this peaceful solution here. he realizes that, no, I was going the wrong way. He came and sat through some classes. Now look at him. He's promoting us. It says, in developing a positive character, commit yourself to being loyal to moral principles. That's what you need to be loyal to. I'm not going to get through these, I think Catan is the next teacher. Catan's going to have to finish them, but I think we've got time. We got 5 more minutes. We can go through number 3, and then I'll leave off there, and he'll have to pick up next time. I'm really sorry, but you know what? I'm gonna let him use my slides. I think these 2 slides. I think he'll appreciate them. The last 2 anyway. Because I worked really hard on those slides, and they're really awesome. Because I did them. You see, I need to work on that humility and that spirit of Mac, right? I've been eating too much mac and cheese, possibly, because I haven't been eating any Big Macs, so I know that's not it. All right, let's go over one more. So, patience and self-control. It says a patient person is able to wait calmly and without complaining for the things they value and want. Patience also extends to how you treat others, especially if they're antagonistic or hostile. Let me go back to waiting patiently and calmly without complaining. Some people value a family. Some people value a house or a car, or, they value different things in life. But we should also be able to wait calmly for it and not get overexcited or worked up in irritation or annoyed or angry and become rebellious because we don't get it right when we want it, right? Okay? What we need to do is realize there's probably a reason why I'm not getting what I want right this moment, okay? There might be a reason why I'm having to wait 3 or 4 years or 5 years to get that wife that I want, to get that family that I want, to get that whatever it is, fill in the blank. There's a reason and a purpose for everything. Whether we see it at the moment, doesn't matter. In the end, we will see the benefit of waiting. Like you see that the guy planting that plant right there, that plant started out as a seed. And it had to be watered, it had to be cared for before you started seeing anything come up out of the soil, right? It's the same thing with anything we do. We might want something, but we have to wait patiently. We have to nurture mainly ourselves to get ready for whatever it is we think we're ready for right now. Because right now we might think we're ready for something that we're not really ready for. We only think we're ready, okay? Now, just keep that in mind as we talk about patience. Patience also extends to how you treat others, especially if they're antagonistic or hostile. In many ways, patience and self-control go hand in hand. To maintain your composure or delay gratification requires you to avoid acting impulsively. That means if you don't get that item or that person or whatever it is you want right this second, that's called delaying gratification. You remember the marshmallow test that they did with the children. I think somebody had talked about it before, where they put a marshmallow in front of a child and they told them, look, if you wait 30 minutes, I'll give you another marshmallow. Just wait 30 minutes and I'll give you 2 marshmallows instead of just 1. And I think, I don't remember the percentage of children that were able to wait 30 minutes and got got 2 marshmallows instead of 1. Some could, some couldn't. That just simply means that some aren't as patient and don't have as much self-control as others, but they can develop it. But that's delaying gratification, or delaying, that gratification of receiving what you really think you need or want. Calm, careful consideration of a situation before acting, particularly out of anger or frustration, is the mark of a person who has self-control and they're patient. So you can't tell me that you have self-control and you're patient if you're angry that you're not getting something right now that you think you deserve, you desire, or you think, hey, I got it coming. If you think that way, right, you need to work on that. You need to work on You know, why is it that I think I have that coming, or I should get that right now? Because if you should have it right then, do you think there's anything that would stop it? If you should? Is there anything that could stop it if you should? No. So just remember that. Practice that patience that it talks about here. And then it says, describe a time when you use both self-control and patience to handle a situation appropriately, or in retrospect, describe a situation that occurred where using self-control and patience would have enabled you to handle it appropriately. And everybody will come up with their own answer because answers will vary in that situation. So anyway, that's page 22. We just finished number 3. Gatan should pick up on number 4, steadfastness and persistence. The next class will be on 8/25/2024 at 5:30 p.m. Central Time. Please remember to stay cool, drink plenty of water in this excessive heat. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you on Sunday.